What if your life was an invitation and everything wasn't just happening to you, but through you? When you start to believe in the magic of you, you become it. This is your invitation to heal and rise above into the fullest expression of you. This is the Liz Swadek Show, and your transformation starts now. Let's begin. Okay, everybody, today on the Liz Swadek Show, we are joined by a true icon, not just of music and culture, but of human resilience and evolution. So Paul Stanley, the frontman of the legendary band Kiss, is not only a rock legend, he's a testament to the power of healing, transformation, and open-hearted living. So behind the makeup, the stages, the fame, Paul's journey has been one of deep personal work, healing that early trauma, reclaiming his self-worth, building meaningful relationships, and becoming the kind of father, the man that he's always wanted to be. So today, we're going to dive behind the stage lights into the heart and soul of the man behind the legend. Paul, welcome to the show. It's an absolute honor to have you.
I would rather say nothing, and you can just keep with the accolades.
I could go all day on this. I really could. Paul, you and I know each other personally because I became friends with your wife in line with the bathroom of Maria's Italian Kitchen, pregnant with my son. And you've just been such a great friend, and I really appreciate you doing this. Paul, many people know you, obviously, as the rock star that you became, but few may know the boy you once were. So will you share a little bit about your early life, being born different, your home environment, and what some of those early challenges were that shaped you?
Well, we all have challenges and we all have histories, and that's not unique to me. So the thing I always like to avoid is becoming a poster boy. The truth is, in my case, I had a dysfunctional family, but who doesn't? Most people, we grow up thinking that what we see on TV is reality in terms of, family life where everybody laughs and, the mom makes cookies in the afternoon. But my family, there was a lot of dysfunction because my parents weren't, I don't want to say they weren't well, but they certainly hadn't fully realized who they were and were frustrated. And it's very easy to pass that on to your children because you don't know any different. So what I saw at home, you define love by what you get from the people around you, specifically when you're, a child. So the dysfunction and the strange kinds of interactions you have with people you think are normal. Besides that, I was born with a microtia, which is a facial difference, used to be called a deformity. And I have no real right ear. I wasn't born with an ear. I was born with a crumpled mass of cartilage, and I couldn't hear. I couldn't hear out of my right ear, still can't. And you grow up. So on top of not feeling very safe at home and not feeling very much that I was protected or understood by my parents, I also had things that went on when I was outside of the house, because it's very normal for people to stare. And unfortunately, kids can be very cruel, probably partially because they don't learn that that's not okay. I think that many times I see a kid and I go, bad kids, bad parents. There's exceptions to that rule, but that's something we have to own. It's not a coincidence that our children are doing fantastically well within whatever the capabilities and possibilities are. It's not the same for everybody. It's not a level playing field, and life's not necessarily fair. And that's part of the things we have to come to grips with.
Yeah. And so how did you deal with that? Because, we've talked about this before. My son was born with a physical difference. I remember the first time a teacher actually used the word, well, he's handicapped. And I literally almost knocked her over. I was like, oh my God, we don't even say that word. You're right. We don't see deformity. We see a difference because it is. That's all it is. It's a difference. What did you do about that? Because you're in this dysfunctional home. Your parents had their own issues. Usually, what it is the parents are so wrapped up in their own issues, right? They don't have time to be the parent that they need to be because they're so wrapped up in whatever they've got going on. How did you deal with that? How did what became this sort of belief that you had that actually had you? Because I know that you personally actually dealt with that, not your parents. What did you end up having to do to kind of, I don't know, steel yourself, right? By having a difference.
I think you have to come to grips with or acknowledge or realize that things aren't good, that life isn't going your way or isn't going to continue to go your way. I think if you reach a point where you go, if I stay on this road, I think there's a brick wall ahead, or
Uh-huh.
there's a cliff. So um, I wasn't happy. And my nature has always been, I guess maybe it's in my blood as a child of a family and a history and a theology where um, we are survivors. We've survived holocausts. We've survived, all kinds of adverse situations. So anyway, um, I was miserable, and in my teens, I thought, this isn't going to work out very well, and I literally um, called Mount Sinai Hospital and called the outpatient psychiatric division and said, I need some help. And I scheduled an appointment and went in. And that was the start for me of a long, long, long journey to get things right. Um, so that's really where it started. I think everything starts with self-realization. Um, Nothing starts from somebody telling you something. Something will always start from you, um, I guess, having the epiphany or realizing. I think the key to change is a self-assessment, a brutal one, and just realizing what you're capable of, what you're not capable of, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. And you may find out over time that that changes, or you were right or wrong, but you have to start by kind of doing a sheet of paper or something where you go, well, this is the good and the bad.
Yeah. And so you were how old when you went to the first of all, how did you even know who to call? I mean, whenever you tell me this, I start laughing because I think, first of all, when I was this age, a teenager, I think I would have just been like, I wouldn't have thought to do that. I mean, it's so incredible that you had any wisdom that you needed who you needed to call, right? I mean, there's a lot of kids that get in this situation and they would start doing drugs. They would try to escape with drugs or try to escape with sex or whatever, different things. The fact that you knew that you needed to call a therapist is really beyond me. But it's incredible. But how old were you? And what did you even say, or what did this therapist say to you when you're this teenager calling?
I was 15.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was 15, and somebody around the family, a an older kid than me, was seeing a psychiatrist or something at Mount Sinai, and I went, "Oh!" I thought to myself, "That sounds like that sounds like a good move." And I at the time you could call 555-1212 or 411 and
Yeah.
get information, and you get the number of the hospital, and you know everything is possible. Everything is possible if you are determined. I didn't, I didn't know anything about it, but um, when you're not happy, again, your choices are you either say you're a victim and the only life you compromise is your own, um, and you either, well, if you see yourself as a victim, then your only way out is either a gun in the mouth, a needle in the arm,
Yeah.
whatever you need to destroy yourself or numb yourself. I, on the other hand, was like, I can be better. And I think that that's what's always motivated me is I can be better than I am at whatever I'm doing. So, um, the challenges you take on really define who you are, how you do with them.
Yeah, 100%. So I can imagine that you start this journey at 15. Obviously, there's different things that come up at 15. Then at some point, right, you're in KISS. What became the challenge then? Because as you're going along, right, and then you become this hugely famous person, it's got to be a whole new level of challenges because now it's almost like the world is your oyster. Everything is available to you. And by the way, a lot of not great things are available to you. But also these feelings of the 15-year-old guy or like not enoughness. How did the transformation or the journey of your healing continue as you literally came into a level of fame that most people could not even imagine?
In my case, I saw the potential downside, the possibility of disaster, and I knew I needed a hand to hold. I just went back to therapy. I think that sometimes, fame or whatever is lying ahead is kind of like you're holding on in the roller coaster and you're being pulled up, and you know that once you get to the top, all hell's going to break loose.
Yeah.
When I was getting pulled up, and I knew, we are going to be massive, and that's going to bring its own challenges. Because fame doesn't cure anything. If anything, fame points out what's missing.
Yeah.
Because people who seek fame to fill those voids or to make them feel better are crushed or stunned by becoming famous and realizing they're still miserable. It didn't take a brain surgeon for me to know that. So I reached out and just figured, I'm going to need some help to navigate this.
Yeah. I mean, and it seems like you had examples around you, obviously, of people doing it the opposite way.
Oh, I had, um, look, I had a wonderful time with my fame, and I had a life most people can't even imagine because it's not in your realm of being able to conceive. Nonetheless, um, yeah, I saw people around me who took the worst elements and killed themselves. My best friend died, of a overdose. I saw people institutionalized after bad psychedelic trips. I saw everything you can imagine, and um, nonetheless, there were aspects of what was available that was wonderful. People who want entree into your world bring you what you need. What's the currency? Well,
Yeah.
it can be drugs, it can be sex, it can be um, money, it can be other famous people. So, some of those are much more dangerous than others, and all of them don't um, take away the need for you to get your shit together.
100%. I'd love to talk about you as the parent. This has been, to me, the funnest part of you because when I met you, I didn't even know one Kiss song, which was hilarious. My husband, of course, was a big fan. Um, Now I know all your songs because I've been to your concerts and now I know everything you do. But really, when I met you like a dad. We had we had kids in preschool together. I want to talk about you being a father because you're deeply committed. You are a super open-hearted father. That's something I really know about you. How did your own healing, the work that you did, turn you into the kind of father that you are today? Because I know you didn't have the same example. So what was the kind of father, what did you want fatherhood to be like? Or what was the kind of the goal? Because you knew you wanted to do it different.
My parents loved me, and you, it's an old cliche, they did the best they could, but within what tools they had and their own conflicts and interactions that weren't healthy, everything that was going on, things that they carried. Um, they they tried, and again, after that, it's up to you. It's this idea that, oh, my parents did this or this. Great. So, are you going to live a life of um, compromise and blame other people for your situation? You can blame them for your past, but you can't blame them for your present or your future. So, I think with children, what I found was it's also a way to heal yourself because you almost live vicariously through them. And by being the parent that you hoped you would have had, um, I think it resolves a lot of issues in you because it not only gives your child what they need, but it gives you what you didn't get. So I think for me, having children really answered a lot of questions for me. Um, there are people who don't have children, and some people go, "Oh, you're missing." You're not missing out on anything because if you don't have children and don't want children, you shouldn't have children. So,
100%.
you
Hello.
know, you're missing out. No, that's me projecting on you who I am, and that has no relevance. It goes, well, if I were you, well, you're not me. Once we get past that, we're doing good. I mean, that if anyone ever says to you, if I were you, forget what they're saying because it's absurd. Um, so for me, I found that having children was healing, and it was also a way for me to make right what hadn't been right for me. And having children for me was deep on a whole lot of levels, and for me, it answered a lot of questions because before I had kids, I really didn't understand what the purpose of life was. Um, you're here, you pop up on Earth. You didn't pick where you were going to pop up. Suddenly you're here,
Yep.
and you're here for a certain amount of time, and then you die, and you're gone. And then religion comes in, and that's a matter of faith, and that's also really pick your answers. People find solace in their belief that we go on, but that has to do with people not wanting to believe that they're here and gone. Everybody wants to believe they're more important perhaps than they are in the scheme of things, but you can be very important to the people around you. um, so for me, I realized that when I had children that really my purpose is to leave the world a better place by putting children here who I live on through, but also make the world a better place. I really believe that um, reincarnation, no, I don't think I'm coming back as a bug or I was a rabbit, you know. But I do believe that we live on and we live on through our children. My dad is my dad made it to 101,
Yeah.
and I, whatever went on earlier in our relationship, the last 10 years were absolutely a gift beyond anything I could have ever imagined. And I remember we had nothing left to say. We said everything all the time, but I remember saying towards the end, I said, I can't imagine life without you. I said, I wish you could be here forever. And my dad said, I'm so glad you said that because wherever I go, we'll be together. Well, he's with me. He is. My dad, I just got a chill because my dad is in me. My dad is part of me.
Yeah.
And do I miss seeing him? Yeah. Do I miss him? No.
Yeah.
No, I don't miss him because he's here. My dad's, that's everybody has to figure out what God means to them or if there is a God. I certainly told my kids I don't think it's a guy with a long beard, and he's not up there on a cloud, and he doesn't have a gate that you go through. But I think spirituality is very important, regardless of whether your spirituality is science, whatever it is. I think we need a foundation um, that kind of gives us a sense of why we're here.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's a lonely life without it. So it's a kind of meaningless life without it. Um, I love how affectionate you are with your kids. That was something that really struck me. I grew up with a father that was not affectionate. In fact, my parents didn't really like hug each other. My parents didn't say I love you. So when I had my own family, I had to remind myself, like, hug your kids. Like, it's just not something I grew up with or recognized. And I remember, being at your house for play dates and different things. And you were so just so affectionate. I mean, kissing and hugging and I just remember being like, wow, like it really shocked me. It struck me and it was unexpected for me because, on some levels, you're a rock star, you're flying around the world, you're doing all these things, and then your kids come in and you turn into a mush. And so I just thought, my God, it's incredible that you're able to access that kind of, I don't know, that kind of just love, frankly, for your kids. And I'm wondering if that was something that you, by design, right? Because, you had this kind of upbringing where your parents were distracted by whatever they had going on. It really seems like that was like you were like, that is something I'm going to intend. Like I'm going to have intention around that. Or was it just natural? Like it just came to you because, it just felt right.
It felt right because I'd like that.
Right.
I think that's important sometimes as you go, what would you like? What would you have wanted?
Yeah.
Um, it's fairly easy. It's also easy to replicate the dysfunction. That's why
100%.
you hear about, um, you know, my dad was a child beater and now I'm a child beater. Well, again, you have the choice to turn things 180. And for me, it was so obvious that physicality and embracing and just telling the people around you that you love them is not only great for them, it's great for you. It's a gift to the person who receives it, and it's a gift to you. You make the world, the nicer we are, we make the world a better place, and then we look at a better world. So my kids, I hug them and kiss them and walk down the street with my arms around my 18-year-old, my 30-year-old. We
Yeah.
all tell each other we love each other in front of everybody. I mean, it's like um, my dad at one point before he really got it and understood. Um, at one point, he said to me about Evan when Evan was little. He said, "Don't you give him too much love?" And I went, "You can only give a child too little love."
Yeah.
I said, love doesn't make you weaker, love makes you stronger. So, those kind of things are things that I see to be right um, in the results. Um, if I was wrong, my kids would be different. But again, it's it's been tremendous for me. It what I've done in my career has been amazing, but you leave that in the same way that you leave your office. You don't, you come home and no matter where you are, the core of who you are has to stay the same. Go out on stage in front of 100,000 people. Yes, you're hyper focusing on a certain part of yourself, but that doesn't change who you are, or it shouldn't change who you are. If it does, Houston, we have a problem.
100%. 100%. So I was at one of the final Kiss shows at Hollywood Bowl. It was electrifying and so special, especially, I was I saw Aaron, I saw the kids, but then when I saw Evan on stage, that was huge for me. But many people have to transition, right, from one stage to another stage in life, right? And I think I work with a lot of women in midlife, 40 to 60. And one of the biggest things we do after kind of going through a lot of healing and work on trauma and different things we work on, they're kind of scared. They're like, what am I supposed to be doing now? I don't like the things I was doing before, or I'm kind of feeling done with some of those things. And they get really scared of like what is my next thing, or what is my legacy? And I've watched you transitioning out of touring with Kiss, and I'm watching you do this, and you're really doing it, in my opinion, very, very well. I don't know how it's going internally, but I would love you to speak to that, because it's even though it's different for you because you are going from, stages and traveling everywhere, it's still universally the same, like coming into a different phase or stage of your life and embracing that and kind of saying, okay, what do I want to do now? So what advice how do you think that's been going for you?
Well, if somebody says, um, do you miss it? Do you miss being out there? I go, of course I miss. How could you not miss it? Um, I miss my dad too.
Right.
You know, life is about change. Life is about the inevitability of progress or of at least things moving on, whether it's uh, progression or not. And you have to be willing to adjust and adapt. Um, I miss it, but I don't pine for it. I don't yearn for it. That's a different thing. That means that you're not living in the present. It's okay to appreciate and value your past, but the idea is to perhaps not make your present as exciting or make your present as dynamic, but life goes on. Life goes on. Ask Michael Jordan. Ask anybody who's been in the spotlight and been great at what they do and had all that adulation, and ask them if they miss it. I believe all of them would say, well, yeah. I mean, there's no curse. There's nothing bad about acknowledging, yeah, of course I miss it. Um, there was wonderful, amazing things about being up there. And I miss that camaraderie. I miss that um, love from the audience, that feedback. Um, and I have all the memories of it, and it's all part of who I am. But um, you have to sometimes acknowledge, for whatever reason, whether it's here or in your body, that there's change. There's changes that take place whether you want them to or not. And then how do you deal with them? That's part of it. Is life throws all kinds of situations you might not be prepared for, and how do you deal with them?
Yeah. And so what do you feel like this next kind of phase? Are you kind of still figuring it out and exploring, or what do you feel like this next kind of phase in your life is about?
Well, I'm doing podcasts with friends, and um, I
I mean, I know you have so many things you do. First of all, also you have your art, you have other music that you do. I know you have other things. You have your family. You've got a son that's your son that's going to college in 5 minutes. You've got a lot going on. But is there something that you're kind of looking to, or is it more like I'm exploring right now? I want to see kind of what I want to be intentional and see what comes up for me, what I want to do.
yeah, I'm really I'm not exploring daily or consciously or vigorously, but there is a void. There's a hole now. Um, can it be filled? No. If somebody dies, you can't fill that hole, but you can. It's part of a tapestry, and you can build around it. So it all grows bigger, and the hole grows smaller.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't. I don't know, and I don't need to know. You, the idea of worrying about something means you're not in the moment, because you don't know how the book ends, you don't know how the movie ends. If you're in chapter 5, well, how are you trying to suppose how the book ends? You'll get there, and you know you'll know as you go.
Yeah. I thought of one of the questions I wanted to ask you was if you could send a message back in time to that younger you, right? Maybe the 15-year-old or maybe even before, like the boy that hadn't even gotten on a stage, the boy that was carrying some of those wounds from early life, what would you tell him now from the position where you're sitting in now?
Be be honest with yourself, but also be kind to yourself. You know, brutal honesty. I don't know. Um, you have to be your own best friend, and you can acknowledge your deficits. You can acknowledge your flaws, and over time, you see things flaws that you didn't even know you had. So that's an ongoing process, but it's well worth the journey. You know, I mean, the journey, that's a word that gets so overused, but really, you're on you're on a sightseeing, trip, and
Yeah.
you're going to see things that you never expected to see,
Yeah.
but you want to be on the right path. And the right path means being honest with yourself and liking yourself. Or that's the goal. The goal is to know you're doing your best and being able to look in the mirror at night and say, I'm doing the best I can. I'm not there. This is not going to happen overnight because you didn't get the way you are overnight. You can't change it overnight. Um, Something that takes years to form or is going to take quite a bit of time to undo.
Mhm.
If you need to um, restructure your foundation, you need to do that because you can't build on a foundation that's not strong.
Yeah.
You know, you've we were talking about retaining walls yesterday, and a retaining wall that goes up 30 feet in the air is down in the ground 30 feet.
Yeah.
The higher it goes, the deeper it goes. So, like roots or whatever else. So, who you are is going to be based upon who you've been or how you've resolved
Mhm.
the past and fixed it.
Absolutely. And I love that. I love that analogy because I think people want to just heal. I don't want to heal. I want to be done with healing, and it's healing. It is a journey. I mean, it is over years, but it is a journey of healing, and I think it's kind of on a continuum. Like sometimes you have to go into the past and look at something, and sometimes you have to address something in your present that's not working. Right? It's kind of like it's kind of a channel that way. When you think about legacy now, maybe not just the legacy of music or fame, but the legacy of the man you are, the love you give, the family you've built. What do you hope your kids, people closest to you, what do you hope people will remember about you?
Um, that I'm nice, that I try to be kind, I try to be empathetic. Um, I believe in you. I believe in everybody's potential. And I believe that it's our job to lift other people up and to tell them what they're capable of. Anybody who tells you what's impossible either failed or doesn't want you to succeed. So um, I want to be a cheerleader and I want to be thought of as a cheerleader, whether on stage or in my life. I don't want to be somebody who says why. I want to say why not.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I feel like you've raised those kids.
I do too, and I was thinking about Evan for a minute because Evan opened a lot of the shows on the Last Kiss tour. I have no problem with nepotism, but nepotism you have to earn. The playing field isn't even. People get advantages and opportunities that other people don't. But did you earn it?
Right.
Um,
Like, do you deserve to be on that
you
stage?
deserve to be.
Yeah.
You know, Evan worked his ass off and continues to,
Yeah.
and is 1,000 times the guitar player I am, and somebody whose band was as good as any other band. So that band or my son's band, damn right is my son's band. Um, because life isn't always fair. And as long as you do the work, and as long as you're willing to not feel entitlement, I have no problem with nepotism. That's part of our job is to avail our children of opportunities, providing they deserve them.
Yeah. Or
So
or
I
we'll take advantage of them. Yeah.
totally, would I pick up the phone and call for any of my kids, you know, for Sarah or Emmy or Colin? Absolutely. But they have to earn it and they have to deserve it. So
Yes.
nepotism, hey, somebody might say, that's not fair. Life's not always fair.
Yeah. And you're born, like you said, you pop up, you're born where you're born. These kids were born to Paul Stanley. And guess what? They're not going to not have the advantages of that. Right. But I think the point that you're making is so true because there's plenty of times that people use that nepotism card in the worst way. They give the kid the opportunity that, frankly, they can't handle or they don't deserve. And then that kid is embarrassed. And
And
if
then
parents feel it's hard.
the kid fails. The kid ultimately retreats. Yeah, I want to build my children into people who have a great sense of self-worth, who find things that make them feel um, part of the community and also enrich them. That's all I want. I don't care if you become, a neurosurgeon or a street sweeper. If you're content in who you are and love what you're doing and have a passion is everything. And that is to me the key to a great life is finding your passion and thriving in it. So for my kids, I have no aspirations of them becoming this, that, or the other thing. I just want them to be happy.
Yeah. And I want to also mention, because I talked to you about this, I love what Evan is doing with Gene's son. Remind me of his name because it just left my
Nick,
brain. Nick. If you have not gone, I want everyone to know if you have not gone to see on it, are they mostly on Instagram? Is that where they do it, or YouTube, or where do they do it?
they posted some things, but they're just finishing an album,
Oh my
and
God.
it's fantastic. It really, really is. It's magical. I just got a chill because I see the two of them, and Gene and I have been together. Gene and I have been together 55 years, 56 years, and started out as kids in our parents' house. And here's our boys having this fabulous, magical connection
It's incredible.
and making great music. And they're both great, great guys with really great talent. And to see them together is poignant. It's one of those things about being on that journey and being on that road, that sightseeing road. It's one of those side attractions that you never expected to see.
Exactly.
So that's part of what makes that trip so great is what you're going to see on the way. Um, I'd like to think that when my trip is over, I would want to continue, but boy, I don't want to quote the Grateful Dead. God forbid. But so I'm not going to.
I know exactly the quote though. It's in my mind. Now you've got it in my mind.
Yeah. So yeah. So Nick and Evan together, they've known each other their whole lives, and only in the last 6 months have they suddenly started playing music together, and it's clicked in a way that's incredible. I mean, it's just magical,
It's
and then
emotional to see. Why do you think? Because I listen. I'm a more recent Kiss fan. There are people who have been fans of yours for, I mean, my God, a long time. When I saw them singing together, I literally started crying. I was like, "Whoa!" It like just it shook me. It really did. And I don't know if it's because I love the legacy. I first of all, I love them together. They have a chemistry. They sing beautifully together. I know both of them, so I feel almost like a proud mommy, like I know them. But also, there's something about the legacy of this that again, like you're saying, unexpected, that I never saw coming. And it just tickles me to death to think that they are going to have this kind of journey together, that they're kind of going on a little ride together, these two, and who knows where it will go. But why do you think it's so emotional? Like, do you feel the same when you see them together? Do you feel that kind of sense of legacy?
I become Yoda too often, but it's kind of like the wonder of life, things that happen that are so, at least at some point in your life, beyond even your wildest dreams. Jeans and my sons are going to be singing together and making great music, and the industry is going to be buzzing about it, and it's not manufactured, and that's wonderful. But look, seeing Colin, my 18-year-old, get into USC,
Oh my God,
it's
huge.
we're a Trojan family. It's like,
Yeah,
you
you
know,
are.
it's amazing. So it's not just about Evan. I'm the first person to say my family is spectacular. Erin, my wife, is a godsend in every way.
Yes, she is.
And as a mom and as a wife, a support system for me, somebody, a true partner. Our kids, I have to say, are, I guess, a reflection of all of that. Sarah dances 35 hours a week and wins all these awards, and she's an honor student. And Emmy is her own joyous person who is just discovering all these things as she's starting to mature at 13. I'm blessed. I look at other people and I smile. I just think that in spite of the turmoil and what's going on perhaps in the world or in this country, our wedding song was Louis Armstrong, What a Wonderful World. And call me corny, uh, it is. It really is. It's not perfect, but everything begins and ends with you.
Well, I can't think of a better note to leave it on than that. Paul, thank you. I'm so emotional for some reason, but thank you for the music and the pure joy of Kiss and for showing us what transformation is possible at any stage, any level of life. Your story it just reminds us that no amount of success can replace the work of healing, and that doing the work of your healing creates a legacy far more powerful than fame. It's a legacy of love, of connection, and authenticity. So thank you for sharing your heart, your truth, your journey. We've said that word 100 times today with us today, because everybody here is, I know, like me, walking away a little more open, a little more brave, a little more inspired because of you. And your legacy is incredible. So thank you.
My pleasure. Let's important to remember that the fewer secrets you have, the freer you are. When you put things out there, you find out how much you'll like other people and other people are like you.
So true. So true. Thank you, Paul.